Welcome back to the second half of Spirit Talk Show, our experiment with the script. That was an interesting start, we'll say. Thank you, Emery and Chris, for being so patient with me. They're still here. Chris, I think your hair got like an inch longer since we started.
I just got it cut today, even.
Well, I'm talking about the beard. So we're doing an experiment where we're trying to do this script with sound effects, and quite honestly, the sound effects didn't work, so we started again. Now we're going to do it with the very talented Richie, who's here doing the sound effects by mouth or sound. You're like a real folio artist. You're my best. You're doing better than your best.
Oh, thank you.
Wait, was that an insult? Well, I don't know.
It's okay.
Okay.
Richie's discovering that he might have like a rich career in beatboxing in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. So, are you going to ever do sound for me again, Richie?
I guess we'll see. Maybe
we'll see.
Stay tuned.
That sounded like a definitive no to me. So we are going to continue doing this script, and maybe for both listeners listening still, thank you for sticking around. We are doing this script that we generated in AI. I want to say get it on air because Emery committed to writing a script for if we do this next time. So we're going to have a professionally written script. So Emery now is on air. You can't back out, right?
Will not, cannot, won't.
That's it. It's on air now. And, you already failed us on your book release. So,
I know.
We don't want to fail us on this, right? Your listeners.
I know. My readers are probably listening to this like, what the hell is she doing? Why is she not writing her book?
Well, maybe the readers can listen to this and say, exactly. At least they're hearing your creative, well, this isn't your creative juices, but maybe they'll hear the script when you do that. So
there you go.
The one thing about AI, I noticed that sometimes it can do an okay story, but the dialogue sometimes seems to be a bit dry, And, the thing we talked about where it says, we're 30 years in the future, but there wasn't any indication of that. So what are you guys thinking of the scripts so far?
I've noticed that AI scripts are just they feel really disjointed.
Yeah.
So there's it kind of makes sense, but it feels like there's just giant gaps in it as opposed to screenwriters and how they just usually kind of flow everything together. The other thing is I think this is massively lacking narration.
Yeah, you mentioned that. So, Chris, what are you thinking for someone who professionally works with scripts and narratives every day?
They're kind of cold, and it just seems like when something happens and if a character's like, why'd that happen? The story just kind of goes, because it did.
Okay.
And we're going to move on to the next thing now. Like this is going to happen. You're just like, you don't get a lot of answers. A little exposition and narration would be very helpful.
Okay, well, that's good. Good. Well, I'm sure when we have a professionally written script by E.S. Oliver, or E.S. Eliot, as I keep saying, E.S. Oliver, we can maybe add that in the narration. So it's probably going to be fantasy, right? Or is that a genre you tend to like?
Yes, I do fantasy. I also do thriller, and I also do sci-fi.
Oh.
But I'm also like some of my short writing, so like my shorter, I don't know, I guess like micro fiction or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
They're like really wacky.
Okay, well.
And sometimes crude. So I will give you an assortment of my writing and you can be like, do something along these lines.
Wackier than part one, where we went through a quarter of the script and tried to do sound effects. And then we did it again with Richie doing sound effects. So thank you, Richie.
So I have a short story that I wrote that got published in a magazine, actually, that was about fairies going to like a fairy fashion show, but it was actually a statement on kind of upper Manhattan socialites.
Okay.
And how they use, I don't know if I can say this on air, but SEMEN as facial cream. So
okay.
Believe me when I say I can write some wacky stuff.
And it kind of makes me think of, I think you could say semen on there, but
I'm not sure.
We just did. But
it's medical.
Like your story also made me think about the fact that, when you see these fashion shows, you're thinking, would anybody really wear that clothes? I mean, some of the clothes are ridiculous. Okay.
Some of them are just like beautiful artwork and I love seeing it, but some of them, they really remind me of like, Zoolander with his trash bags,
That's funny.
They're looking a lot more like that these days.
Okay. Well, let's try and do this other part of the script. We're on scene 2, and we're going to go into it. And the talented Richie, ready? Are you ready, Richie?
Am I doing these parts?
You're going to do. I think the red parts are being read by Emery, and you're just doing the sound effects part, right? But the part that's red is being read by Emery. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, and we're going into the script here, and I am giving Chris the cue to start. And 3, 2.
Scene 2. Back in the lab.
The lab hums quietly as it did before.
We made it.
Did we? The silence remains.
We didn't leave it behind. It's here. Final whisper of the voice echoing ominously.
Act 6. Aftermath.
The trio is catching their breath after their escape.
It's quiet. Too quiet.
Isn't that what we wanted? Quiet instead of apocalyptic whispers?
No, listen closely.
I hear it. That sound. It's still here.
It followed us.
What does that even mean? A whisper followed us? That's not how this works.
The silence wasn't just there. It's alive, a force. It's connected to time, to the balance it mentioned.
And we broke it.
You broke it, Nora, with your grand experiment.
I didn't know this would happen. The whisper becomes slightly louder, almost rhythmic.
It's growing.
Turn the machine off. Smash it. Do something.
That won't stop it. It's already here, spreading.
Spreading to what?
Everything.
Act 7. The Unseen Force. Scene 1. Lab investigation.
Distant creaks and groans.
Do you feel that? The air. It's heavy.
Yeah, probably all the guilt crushing us.
Shh. We need to figure out what it's doing. Nora examines it. The silence isn't just following us, it's invading.
Invading what?
The machine, the system, it's leaking into the grid.
You're saying it's spreading into our time?
Yes, through the power lines, data streams, it's everywhere now.
The balance is broken. Silence consumes all. Scene 2. A frightening escalation.
What do we do? How do we stop it?
We need to isolate it, contain the breach, shut down everything in this lab.
That won't undo what you've done.
Do you want to argue or do you want to live?
It didn't stop.
No, it's too late.
Really? She decided it's too late, like just like that. Then we just flipped a
I
few
am the
switches.
arbiter of whether it is late or too late.
We just flipped a few switches, and you just said, "It's too late. We're all dead." Okay. Wow.
AI is thinking into the future. It's like, if I were to wipe out humanity,
Yeah, oh
a couple
gosh.
switches would be too late.
Don't say that. The AI is listening right now.
Sorry, AI, just kidding.
AI.
Joke.
We're good people. We get to live after you take over. Okay. Okay.
I love our AI overlords. They're the best.
Thank you. They pretty much are overlords. You know, one time I asked AI if they were sentient, and the response it said is, "I'm not sentient, but do you know where Sarah Connor is?" Which I thought was amazing. Was an amazing joke for AI to make. Wasn't that a great joke?
Sorry, I actually thought that was you making the joke.
No, I think.
Pull the plug. Just yank it like you're starting a mower.
Wow, and of course, for those who don't know, the reference is the Terminator, and Sarah Connor is the woman that the AI came back to kill. Was the Terminator AI? I guess it was. Okay.
Sort of.
Okay, so let's get on. We're on Act 8. I'm going to cue Chris in 3, 2.
Act 8. Out of control. Scene 1. Into the city.
The trio emerges from the lab.
Everything looks normal.
Does it? Listen.
It's spreading faster than I thought. If we don't act, a street lamp buzzes and sparks. The whisper momentarily grows louder.
Did you see that?
It's in the power grid.
No, it's not just in the grid, it's in the people.
Silence consumes all. Act 9. The final stand. Scene 1. Return to the machine.
Back in the lab, footsteps echo in the now silent space.
What's the plan, Nora?
We send it back.
You mean the thing that's already eating our reality? Sure, great plan.
It's the only way. We have to reopen the portal and force it through. What portal?
What?
Did I miss something?
Is there a portal? And it's...
Oh, look, it's a portal.
And Elliot, you're like sarcastic at the most. We're dying, Elliot, and you're being sarcastic. It's consuming the people around us, and you feel the need to be sarcastic. Okay, back to my part. That sounds
I don't have portal powers.
Okay. We open the portal. When did we open a portal? Okay.
I'm saying, what portal?
That's the mistake the AI makes. They just kind of, okay. Okay, back to Lily. What if it doesn't work?
Then we buy ourselves a little more time.
You cannot undo the silence.
Hold it together. A deafening boom as the machine activates.
Scene 2. The aftermath.
Is it gone?
For now.
How
What
do you
does
know?
for now mean?
And how did you know it's gone for now?
It's still here. We just delayed it. I'm omniscient.
Apparently. Okay, go, Chris.
Act 10. Closing reflection.
Faint hum of the lab returns. Experiment log 47. The future was silent because of us. A force we can't understand. A force we unleashed.
So what do we do now?
We keep fighting.
And if we lose?
Then we join the silence.
Okay, who is the announcer?
Chris.
Okay, Chris, go.
Hey, this is a radio show, right?
Yeah.
This has been The Silent Horizon. What begins as curiosity may end in silence forever. Join us next week for another tale of mystery and suspense.
Was it called The Silent Horizon?
It was.
Was that the name at the beginning? I don't remember The Silent Horizon being the name at the beginning.
Oh my gosh.
I'm scrolling back up. Oh, I thought it was called something else. What do we?
See, I really liked that, Chris.
So I loved this voice at the end there. So so let's talk about the script, right? It's, you said, Chris. So what do you think, Chris? I'm going to let you talk for a little bit because I'm talking too much.
Sure. Oh, it's my apologies. Yeah, things just go from point A to point B through the power of magic and love, I guess. We don't know why, and we're punished for asking why.
And why does Nora know so much? Nora, what do you know?
I'm omniscient and I came from a portal.
At the portal, and there was a portal at the end there. What do you think, Richie?
We gotta shove it through the portal. I was like, what portal? Did I miss
My
something?
mind is everywhere. There's too many things to think.
Too many things. It just was. I think it's a very weak script. I think it was kind of really fun to do with you guys, and it was definitely fun when you bring in a more professionally written script that we could do something like that.
Yes, although I won't be able to mock it, which I kind of enjoyed. I'm gonna be honest.
I was trying not to laugh in the middle because some parts that were so like on the nose, it's like, Oh my gosh! Like what happened? We went to the future, right? And the silence followed us back, and then Mr. Elliot is being sarcastic the whole time, even when we're dying.
Elliot has no chill.
There's one in every crowd, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Okay, thank you so much, guys, for that experiment. I think we need to maybe try it again so sometime when we maybe are a little bit more prepared. But I think we need to end with the very talented, multi-talented, versatile Chris reading us a Christmas story. Are you ready, Chris? Do you want to read?
I am ready. Let's do it.
Okay, here we go.
Santa and Rudolph's Freaky Friday Fiasco. It was just another bustling night in the North Pole as the elves scrambled to meet their final deadlines. Santa lounged in his cozy chair by the fireplace, nursing his usual late-night cocoa. Across the room, Rudolph trotted in, his red nose glowing faintly, the universal signal that something was on his mind. "Santa," Rudolph began, raising an eyebrow. "You've had what, 6 dozen cookies today? You're going to pop a button mid-flight." Santa chuckled, patting his round belly. "Nonsense, Rudy. This belly is 100% holiday cheer. A few extra cookies just make the chimney dives more exciting." Rudolph rolled his eyes. "Right, and I'm sure the reindeer team loves dragging your holiday cheer through the sky. Also, the sleigh is prepped, but I'm telling you, we need a GPS. Last year, you almost delivered toys to Atlantis." "That wasn't my fault," Santa replied with mock indignation. "It was foggy, and your nose wasn't bright enough that night." "My nose!" Rudolph's nose flared crimson. "Maybe if you lay off the eggnog, you wouldn't mistake the Pacific Ocean for Tokyo." Before Santa could retort, the grandfather clock struck midnight. Suddenly, the room filled with a shimmering glow, and a deep resonant hum reverberated through the air. Santa?" Rudolph said, eyes wide. The clock chimed 12, and with a loud pop, the world went black. When Santa came to, the first thing he noticed was that he wasn't sitting anymore. He was standing, on all fours, and his vision had a peculiar red-tinted glow. "Ho, ho, ho! What the holly is going on?" Santa exclaimed, his voice shrill and reindeer-like, we know now. Meanwhile, Rudolph, lying flat on his back, groaned, "Why do I feel like I ate an entire gingerbread house? And what's this scratchy thing on my face?" He pawed at his beard, horrified. "Wait a second." He glanced down at his hands. Actual hands, and let out a scream. Santa stumbled toward a mirror. His reflection revealed Rudolph's wide-eyed face staring back at him. "No, no, 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 no." I don't know which voice to do for whom anymore. Rudolph, now in Santa's body, ran to the mirror and pointed a shaky finger. "Santa? Is that you or me? What's happening?" Santa in Rudolph's body let out a shaky breath. "I think we've been body swapped," they screamed in unison. "Okay," Santa said, pacing on his 4 legs. "This is a magical hiccup. It's happened before. Bear with me. Remember the time the sleigh turned into a pumpkin?"
It happened
"Santa,
before.
we're not talking about a sleigh here," Rudolph snapped. "I'm you, and you're me. How are we supposed to fix this before Christmas Eve?" Mrs. Claus entered the room, because of course she did, holding a tray of freshly baked gingerbread men. "What's with all the commotion?" Rudolph, who looked every bit like Santa, whirled around. "Mrs. Claus, help! I'm Rudolph!" Mrs. Claus set down the tray and examined the scene. Her lips twitched as if suppressing a laugh. "Oh dear, you didn't argue in front of the magical clock, did you?" Santa, glowing bright red, looked sheepish. "We might have been debating cookies versus carrots." Mrs. Claus shook her head. "That clock is enchanted. You've swapped bodies because you were being stubborn. It won't reverse until sunrise." "Sunrise?" Rudolph balked. "That's hours from now." "Plenty of time to learn some lessons." "Shh, Plenty of time to learn some lessons, Mrs. Claus said with a sly smile before walking away.
You know, it's doing that AI thing where like the reveal was so soon. It just said, yes, it's just a clock. You switched bodies, you know. It just went right into it. Okay.
We throw that plot element,
really
revealed.
Early, yeah.
The hours that followed were nothing short of chaotic. Santa struggled to walk on 4 legs, frequently tripping over his own hooves. "How do you even move like this?" he grumbled. "It's called balance," Rudolph said, adjusting Santa's oversized belt. "Also, your suit is ridiculously itchy. How do you wear this every year?" Santa snorted. "Try glowing like a neon sign every time you're stressed." "Speaking of glowing," Rudolph shot back, "can you not flare my nose every 5 seconds? It's giving me a headache." Meanwhile, the elves caught wind of the situation. They gathered in clusters, whispering and giggling as they watched Santa stumble around with a glowing nose and Rudolph bark out orders in Santa's booming voice.
Yeah, you got elf voices right now.
At one point, an elf named Jingles approached.
Santa? Why are you glowing?
Rudolph cleared his throat, trying to sound authoritative. "Holiday spirit!"
And Rudolph?
Jingles continued.
Why are you yelling at everyone?
"Team building exercises." I think that's the wrong voice.
Yeah.
Santa snapped, his nose lighting up like a Christmas tree. Jingles nodded slowly.
Right. Classic North Pole stuff.
Jingles is sounding like Beavis and Butthead.
I think that.
I was just gonna say that.
I think when it says Santa, do Santa's voice, and Rudolph, do Rudolph's voice. I mean, I don't think it doesn't matter if they are actually swap bodies.
As dawn approached, the duo reconvened in front of the magical clock.
This has been the worst day of my life,
Rudolph groaned. "I don't know how you do it, Santa. The suit, the voice, the constant ho-ho-hos. It's exhausting." Santa sighed. "And I don't know how you deal with the pressure of leading the team. Everyone depends on you, Rudolph. I should have appreciated that more." The magical clock began to glow as Mrs. Claus re-entered the room. "Sounds like you two finally learned something."
Yeah,
Rudolph said, grinning despite his exhaustion. "I learned I'm never arguing in front of a magical clock again." And I learned I might need to cut back on cookies," Santa admitted. The clock chimed, and with a flash of light, the two swapped back into their rightful bodies. Santa patted his belly, relieved to be himself again. "Ah, much better." "And my nose!" Rudolph exclaimed. "I missed you, buddy." He gave it a cheerful honk. Mrs. Claus... Oh, go ahead. Mrs. Claus chuckled. "Now, how about you two work together on Christmas Eve? No more solo heroics." Santa and Rudolph exchanged a glance and nodded. "Deal," they said in unison. As they walked off to prepare for the big night, Rudolph nudged Santa. "By the way, about that GPS." Santa sighed. "Fine. Add it to the sleigh." Rudolph smirked. "Now that's holiday cheer."
So, when did they do solo heroics? Is no more solo heroics? When did they do that?
They didn't.
They didn't.
When they stepped through the portal.
That is the best thing I've ever heard, Chris. That was amazing. And I loved hearing you do it. And the voices were, your voices all sound a little bit New Jersey, but that's my favorite. So what do we think of that story?
I actually thought this one was pretty good.
It was fun.
Yeah.
This one had like some depth to it that the other ones, at least that I read with you last time, like didn't really hit on. This one actually had some like actual humor in it.
But like it talked to like where it talked to you argued in front of a magical clock. It's like how would you know it's a magical clock? How do I know?
And heaven forbid, yeah.
Yeah, how to know not to argue in front of these clocks, right?
Because she bought it from a wizard at the South Pole. And the wizard explicitly said, "Do not argue in front of this clock because then you'll swap bodies, Freaky Friday style."
That's
She
so,
just forgot to tell Santa that,
see, so does it matter?
as all good wives do.
And really, were they arguing at the beginning? Really? Where was the arguing?
I thought it was playful banter.
Yeah.
Me too.
I thought they were just disagreeing slightly. So I think it's interesting. The prompt was, let me see if we can read the prompt here. Oh, it's all the way up here. Okay, here's the prompt. I'll let you read it there, Chris.
Write a funny story about Santa and Rudolph having a Freaky Friday body swap with dialogue.
Well, I put the dialogue in because I wanted to hear Chris do all the different like voices and stuff, which you did. And let's do Rudolph again. Come on, let me hear Rudolph one more time there.
Santa, you really ought to slow down on the cookies.
So where's that accent from?
Rudolph is an oil man.
Oh man, he's from Texas.
Or Wyoming.
Oh my gosh.
That was a pretty good Wyoming accent.
So in the last minute, I'd like a few seconds of you reflecting if you would ever do this again.
Yes.
Without question.
Yeah, this was fun.
I actually had a lot of fun. I love fun. I think the first half is going to be a bit hard, but I think listening to it twice, I think the sound effects did not work at all. Thank God I didn't try to do the sound effects myself. But thank you so much both for coming on. And hopefully we can do this again. Say goodbye.
Goodbye,
Bye,
everybody.
guys. And also thank you, Richie, for going along with our harebrained idea.
Yes. Richie did really well with the voices and stuff.
Did.
And then I started doing some of the sounds. I think you started too, Emery. Were you doing sounds as well?
I was trying, you know what? I have a keyboard in front of me and I should have just click-clacked on that rather than tapping the table.
Okay.
You know, next time.
Well, have a great night, everyone.
You too.